Hey, welcome back to the African Homestead. This is Eric. It is time for another first Q&A. Well, for those of you who subscribe to my channel and follow along, and you're watching this right after I post it, you may realize it's not the first of the month. And let me explain that and offer my sincerest apologies. Sometimes life happens and discouragement can come. And that's what has happened recently with the land that we're trying to secure. We've had multiple setbacks, and at the end of last month, we had another setback. And it's one of those where you have to step back and just question everything. And so that's what we've been doing. We've been just really stepping back and saying, is this what we're supposed to be doing? Is this the direction we're supposed to be heading? Is this the place that we're supposed to go? And so we spent time talking about it, praying about it, and trying to decide what is the way forward. Because this is something really, this particular location we've been working on. I first visited there July of last year, and we've been actively working on it since really the end of July and the beginning of August on getting this land secured, getting started construction of our home. The rainy season is really about 2 months away is when it's going to start, and building a home in the middle of a 6-month rainy season is a pretty daunting endeavor. It's big anyway, but to do it during the rainy season is tough. So that is my reason for posting this late. And honestly, when all that was going on and it first hit us, I was like, I don't have the right frame of mind and the right attitude to answer your questions, and I want to answer them in the right frame of mind. You took time to post them, to ask the questions, which I super appreciate, and so I just wanted to make sure that I did it in the right way. So thank you for your patience. Now, the other thing I want to mention is that I'm going to do something like I did last month, and that is, if you look in the description below, you will see that I'm going to post all the questions and who asked them and the time mark on the video. So if you don't want to sit through all the questions, I understand that. I'm like anybody. I like to build a number of subscribers and watch hours and all that kind of stuff. I'm a long ways away from monetization and all that, and that's not what I'm chasing. So with that in mind, I'm going to put the time mark below. So if there's certain questions you're interested to see what's my answer, you can just scroll down, find that time mark, jump to that point in the video, and watch from there. The other thing I want to mention is I think I ended up with about 11 questions. And based on how long it took me to get through, I think 5 last month, I may end up splitting this video into 2 episodes. So we'll find out at the end of it whether that gets split or not. Let's see how wordy I am. Okay, without further ado, let's jump right into the questions. These are in no particular order. I just kind of dropped them on this spreadsheet kind of randomly, kind of not. So I'll just start with Taters58. He or she, I would assume someone that calls himself Taters, or herself Taters, itself Taters, they self. I better start over. Okay, Taters58. Okay, so the first question is from Taters58, and I need to tell you that this person asked the question actually on another video that I posted, but rather than give a response there, I thought this would actually be the better forum to do that. So I've directed that person to come watch this video. And so the question is, are there any dangerous wildlife or bugs where you're going to live? All the foliage that you were walking through gave me the heebie-jeebies, LOL. And so the answer to that is yes. As far as wildlife, in that part of Liberia, they have forest elements that are highly nocturnal, they're non-aggressive, so they're not really going to be an issue. They also have something called a pygmy hippo, that's I think the national animal of Liberia. And again, nocturnal, very shy. The chances of ever seeing one, even living there in someone's lifetime, is pretty rare. So those, even though they're large, don't really have to worry about them. We don't have lions and tigers and bears in Liberia, and so we don't have to worry about those. So the main thing that we worry about, and not really that much, but there's a chance that we're going to come across, are poisonous snakes. Those are, as far as life-threatening, we have the green mamba, black mamba, tree cobra, a spitting cobra, a couple other viper species that are also, all of those, if you get bit and you're not able to find care, you can get very, very sick and probably die. So that's one. And those we will come across, there's no doubt. I mean, we're in the middle of the jungle, so we will see those. You just have to be aware. And again, snakes, for the most part, if they hear you making noise, they're going the other way. These particular species of snakes are not aggressive, so they're not going to come chase you down. They're going to disappear. And most likely, I've walked around them multiple times, and they either lay still or they snake away, and we don't even see them. And the other thing that is dangerous in Liberia, that's life-threatening, are mosquitoes. And I say that in all seriousness. Yeah, I'm used to, in the States, mosquitoes are an annoyance and they're itchy. Here we have malaria. And a few years ago, I actually had a daughter who got malaria. As a family, we've had malaria multiple times a year. It's just something, even if you take a preventative, you get it. It just isn't going to kill you. So at that time, my daughter was taking a preventative and she still got malaria. We started her on a treatment of quinine, and it got worse. And after a few days of that, she actually spiked a fever of 105.7, and she spent 3 days in the hospital. If it had gotten much worse, we very well could have lost her. So mosquitoes are serious. They're very serious, and they're something that you can't mess around. Once you start getting some symptoms, I don't even worry about going and getting the blood test. I take malaria treatment. It's something I don't mess around with. And so that's really the two main things in Liberia are deadly snakes, which the likelihood of getting bit is very low, and malaria, and the likelihood is close to 100%. And the next couple questions are from 3B Farm and Homestead. In your opinion, how much would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? On a serious note, what is your favorite Liberian food? Honestly, it would be easier to say, what Liberian foods do you not like? Because for the most part, I like almost all Liberian foods. They generally are a soup or a sauce served over a very large bowl of rice. And the base ingredients is palm oil, onion, garlic, salt, cube, like a bouillon cube. And that's like the base in every single soup. You'll find that. And then you add there's cassava leaf, potato greens, palm butter, there's onion soup, there's pumpkin soup, eggplant, water greens, peanut soup, and there's also jollof rice. That is a West African dish that every country in West Africa claims they make the best jollof rice. I'm not going to get in that argument, and the list goes on and on. Oh, and the one ingredient, this is the most important ingredient in Liberian food, and a lot of time expats really mess up the Liberian food, and that is the Liberian hot pepper, the Liberian chili pepper. On the heat scale, a capsaicin scale, I forget what the proper name is, it is on the same level as habanero, except it doesn't have a strong flavor, it just has a lot of heat, and so it doesn't change the flavor of the soup. It just makes you sweat and really feel alive as your mouth is on fire. And it's a fantastic pepper, and so we make pepper sauce, and I eat that on everything but ice cream. And then 3B Farm and Homestead followed up with this question, and maybe as a follow-up to that, what is one of the weirdest dishes from an American perspective that you've eaten, and did you like it? Now, you didn't say specific to Liberia. I used to travel quite a bit on business. I spent about 20 years in business before I moved to Liberia. And so I'll answer the question from that context. I used to travel to China quite a bit on business, and there were two things in China that gave me a hard time. No, three. I will eat anything. I will try anything. You set it in front of me, it doesn't matter what country I'm in, I'll try it at least one time. And so the three things that really kind of bothered me, the first one was I was in inland China. I mean, hours long flight away from the coast, and they served me something that was in this really salty brine, and I saw as shrimp. I pop it in my mouth. I didn't know it was a salty brine. I didn't know it was cold, and I didn't know it was raw. And as I'm chewing this salty shrimp, you know, I'm not going to insult my hosts by spitting it out. I realize how far from the coast we are. It's not crawfish. It was shrimp. And I'm eating it raw. You know, a long ways from the coast. And that's one where you just say prayer, and that's it. And I didn't get sick. It actually turned out well. The other thing was on one of my first trips to China, and that was eating water bugs. Now, in America, our water bugs are little tiny water bugs. In China, they're big. And so as I popped the sauteed water bug in my mouth, the juice didn't taste that bad, but the, I don't know, exoskeleton, the wings on it, the whatever outer shell, was like plastic. I just remember chewing and chewing and chewing and chewing, and it wouldn't break down. It was just there. And I think that is the only time I've ever spit anything out. I mean, I was at the point where I just like, I can't swallow this. And I spit it out. The third thing was when I was in Shanghai, I was working with a company as a supplier engineer, and the owner of the company took us out to a restaurant, and he knew I loved sushi. And this, again, it was Shanghai. And so he said, we have a local specialty of freshwater sushi. And I thought, freshwater sushi? What is freshwater sushi? I've never heard of that. And so they come out and they have this big platter with a catfish. And anybody who has, you know, cleaned a catfish, you know, before you cook it, that's tough. And it's very much, I mean, they're bottom feeders. It's very much a gamey, you know, you soak it in salt water in a brine before you cook it. And so I thanked him very much. I put on a lot of wasabi, a lot of soy sauce. I chewed a little bit, pretty much swallowed it whole. And then he passed it to me again and again. So took like 4 servings of this catfish. And then the next time we went to the restaurant, he said, you know, I noticed you really loved that freshwater sushi. And then they bring out another platter of it. I ate some, but not as much as the previous time. But such is life in different cultures. And the next question is from Rob Donaldson, and he asks, what is your everyday life for you and your family, and what ministry are you associated with, and can we make donations? On the first question, our everyday life, I kind of answered that in the last video, and I think, Rob, you asked questions on the last one, so I think you've probably watched it. So it gives you an idea that we don't really have an everyday life. We don't have much rhythm and routine. It seems like we're always a little bit off balance. There's always new opportunities, new challenges every day. And so you just take a look at the last video. Again, go down to the description and look at the time marker for when I answered that question. And the second question is, what ministry are you associated with? The agency that we work with on the U.S. side, that's our sending agency that sends out missionaries, is called Beautiful Feet, and they're based in Oklahoma. So if you just Google Beautiful Feet, Oklahoma, that should be able to get you to their website. I'll put it in the description below and maybe on the bottom of the screen here so that you can see the web address. Now in Liberia, we're associated with a church called the Christian Revival Church Association, or CRCA, and that is a Liberian-led, Liberian-started organization that we partner with, and they are fantastic. I'll also put a link to their website below, and you can check that out if you're interested. And as far as making donations, as you can see, we have a lot of plans and projects going forward. And so some people on YouTube use Patreon or Steemit or other websites to raise funds, and I don't know anything about that. I haven't looked into it. One good thing about is if you decide to support the work we're doing and to support the homestead we're developing and the community development projects that we're doing, it is all tax deductible. So I'll put a link to the site where if you want to give a gift, give a donation, great. If you don't, I'm cool with that, but I really appreciate the question.